Okay, so imagine this. We've got this rapper, right? And his lyrics, they don't just talk about being rich. They, like, give you the step-by-step guide to getting rich through credit card fraud, identity theft,
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards. We're talking about Teejayx6, and he is a fascinating case.
Yeah, he really is. This whole thing, this 18-year-old from Detroit making a career out of scam rap, it's wild, right?
Yeah.
And yes, scam rap itself comes from Atlanta, but like TJ6 really blew it up when he started putting his own scams in his music back in 2019.
Oh, for sure. He went all in. Album titles like Black Air Force Activity 1, Fraudulent Activity. I mean, come on. And the lyrics, literally like instruction manuals on how to run these scams. He even names specific websites and software, the tools of the trade.
Which, of course, makes you wonder, is this just art imitating life, or is it, encouraging people to actually do this stuff? I mean, he doesn't exactly hold back on the details.
No, he really doesn't. And his defense is that it's all art, a reflection of his life, his experiences.
Yeah.
But that just makes it even more interesting, right? How much of Teejayx6, of this persona, is real? And how much of it is like an act, a carefully constructed image, genius, criminal, maybe a little both?
Well, let's dig into what we know about Antonio Asberry. The guy behind the music, born in 2001, raised by a single mom, Detroit, tough neighborhood, dropped out of high school, 11th grade. And yeah, just like his lyrics suggest, he's had his run-ins with the law, spent some time behind bars for fraud.
He even says he was scamming as a kid. I mean, selling parsley as weed.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, is this like a product of his environment, or is it a calculated hustle from the very beginning?
What's really interesting, though, is this whole Robin Hood narrative that's sprung up around him. Like, he sometimes frames his scamming as fighting back against the system, sticking it to the man. And some of his fans really buy into that. Remember that interview with Wired? He even said he felt bad about scamming people around Christmas time.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay, but hold on a second. We're still talking about criminal activity here. Credit card fraud, identity theft. These things have real victims. And it's not always some big corporation he's targeting.
True. Absolutely. And that's where the ethical debate gets really tricky. Does his music glorify crime? Or is it just reflecting a reality that many young people face? And what about the potential consequences? Like, is he creating a whole new generation of scammers with his music?
He's definitely started a conversation, that's for sure. He was in that HBO Max docuseries, Generation Hustle. And there are articles and interviews about him everywhere. Pitchfork Complex, Wired, Vice, you name it. I mean, he's become the face of scam rap, even if people can't agree on whether he's a hero or a villain.
I guess that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Visionary entrepreneur, master manipulator, con artist. The media can't seem to make up its mind, which honestly probably just makes him more intriguing.
For sure. And speaking of intriguing, even the name of his album, Black Air Force Activity 1, with that track, Dynamic, I mean, that speaks volumes about his ambition.
Oh, totally. And look at the album credits. It's not just him. You've got all these different producers, collaborations. He's got a whole network. It's not just some random SoundCloud rapper. He's savvy about this.
And he definitely knows how to build a following. He's not shy about taking credit for, like, inventing this whole scam rap thing. Remember that Complex interview? He straight up said he was the first one to rap about scamming in this specific way.
Right, right. It's a bold claim, but it shows you that he gets it. Like, he saw a gap, a niche, and he went for it. Whether you love him or hate him, you can't deny that entrepreneurial drive.
No, you can't. And it paid off, Fraudulent Activity. He dropped that just a few months after Black Air Force Activity 1, capitalizing on the buzz. And they were both released under the same label, Disruptive and the Family Entertainment. He's building a brand. It's intentional.
He's playing the game. And he's self-aware, too. Almost unnervingly so. Like, he knows how the media works, how people want to label him. He even admits it. It's like he's purposely blurring the lines. Criminal, philanthropist, who knows?
It's wild. It's like he's trying to manipulate how people see him. He said he helps people, give them money, advice. That's next-level image control.
And, it seems to be working. His career just keeps going. The controversy doesn't seem to hurt him at all. He might be playing a dangerous game, but so far, he's winning.
Yeah, and in that same Complex interview, he basically said he doesn't care what people think, as long as he keeps getting bigger. It's like he's willing it into existence. The more controversial he gets, the more attention he gets, and it just feeds the whole thing.
Yeah, but that kind of fame, it's a double-edged sword. All that scrutiny, the legal risks, it's got to weigh on you.
Let's be real. The music itself, it's, let's just say it's an acquired taste.
I mean, yeah, the repetitive flow, those lyrics, like, explicitly detailing illegal activities. It's not for everyone.
But even if you hate it, you have to admit, he's had an impact. He's brought something different to hip-hop. something both captivating and kind of disturbing at the same time.
It's like you can't look away, even if you want to.
It's true. I mean, his lyrics are full of BNs, VPNs, the dark web. He even said the government tried to ban him from the dark web. I mean, where does the truth end and the performance begin?
I think that's the real mystery of Teejayx6, right? That constant pushing of the boundaries, reality versus performance, artist versus con man.
And it's that ambiguity that keeps people hooked, keeps them listening, keeps them relevant. Love him or hate him, he's a phenomenon.
And we can't forget the media's role in all this. They gave him a platform, amplified his notoriety, turned his story into clickbait headlines. It's like we're all part of this.
Remember that No Jumper interview where he just casually admitted to scamming people on Twitter when he was like 12 years old?
Oh, yeah. It's that boldness, that sense of invincibility. It's both attractive and repulsive. You know, he's a walking contradiction, like the perfect symbol of our times.
Yeah, he really is. But even with all the attention, the rise of scam rap, he's admitted to feeling the pressure. There's an elevator interview from 2019 where he said he never expected to blow up like this.
I can see that. The pressure of fame, the media scrutiny, the legal stuff. It's a lot to handle, even for someone as outwardly confident as Teejayx6.
He even talked about worrying about the government coming after him, saying he's been doing this for 10 years, that he's unstoppable. It's all part of that outlaw image.
Right, but then he throws in these details that complicate the narrative. Like, he admitted to scamming his own family, tricked someone into buying a house from him for, like, nothing. It really makes you question, you know, who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy?
He does say he draws the line somewhere, though. Like, he wouldn't scam his brother or close family. It's a weird moral code, right?
It is. Where does that line even exist? Who deserves mercy? These are the kinds of questions his music forces you to think about.
It's true. And then there's this whole music career thing. He seems to have this, like, love-hate relationship with signing to a label. He sees the benefits of being independent, but also knows the connections a label can provide.
Classic dilemma for a young artist. Creative control versus mainstream success. Slow and steady versus fast track.
He's even thought about retiring from scamming altogether, you know, as his music takes off. But then he'll say something like, the money I make from a show, that's nothing compared to what I make illegally. And you get this glimpse into his reality. The temptation of easy money is hard to resist, especially when it's all you've ever known.
Yeah, it makes sense. But as he gets more famous, it gets harder to stay under the radar, too. He said he's had to relocate his operation to avoid detection. How long can he keep that double life going?
He even joked about not being able to get a haircut because he scammed his barber.
That dark humor, man, it's everywhere in his music. It's like he's laughing at the absurdity of it all, the contradictions of his life.
And that's what makes him so compelling. He's this paradox. A tech-savvy criminal rapping about his exploits. A self-proclaimed Robin Hood who scams his own family. An ambitious artist who might have to retire from the very thing that made him famous.
He's a product of his environment, for sure. A master manipulator, a shrewd entrepreneur, all rolled into one. He's like the ultimate reflection of our times. This world where the lines are so blurred, right and wrong, truth and fiction.
And that's where we'll leave it for now. But we'll be back soon to dig deeper into this whole scam rap world. The controversy. Teejayx6's impact on the music industry.
He's like walking this tightrope, right? With his music. One wrong step, one lyric too far, and he could be in serious legal trouble.
He knows the risks, though. In one interview, he talked about how he's scared of running into someone he's scammed, you know. Imagine living like that, constantly looking over your shoulder. It's got to be exhausting.
Yeah, that double life, it takes a toll. And it's interesting, he often tries to justify it all by blaming the victims, saying they were gullible, like it's almost a test of their intelligence or something.
There's this one quote from a Complex interview. He calls his music a social experiment. He says, if somebody comment under my shit, you offbeat, and somebody else listened to it, then they might say, he's not even offbeat. People listen to music differently. Like, it's all about how people react to him.
Right, so he's deflecting, avoiding the ethical questions altogether. He frames it as commentary, but come on, there are real-world consequences to this stuff.
And he's faced them, too. Jail time. It's not just talk.
Absolutely. For all his bravado, all that unstoppable stuff, he's had to face the music, literally. It's a reminder that even in the digital age, you can't just get away with anything.
His whole story just highlights how blurred the lines have become, doesn't it? Artistry and criminal activity, online personas versus real-life consequences. Is he a success story or just a really good exploiter of the system?
I think his music, For all its bragging and dark humor, it gives us a glimpse into a world most people wouldn't see otherwise. He's forcing us to think about things like economic inequality, the temptation of easy money, all the dark stuff happening online.
It's true. And his career, it's like it mirrors this whole rise of scam rap as a subgenre. Do you think this is just a fad? Or is scam rap here to stay?
Ooh, that's the big question. I think it depends, on a few things. Like, people are definitely more aware of online fraud now, and information about it is easy to find. But there's also this cultural fascination with the hustle, the underdog story, outsmarting the authorities. That's always been appealing.
Yeah, and TJ6's music, it's all about the luxury brands, the expensive stuff,
Mm.
even if we don't know how much of it is real. It's that classic hip-hop image, right? Conspicuous consumption,
hmm
but the money comes from a different place.
It's like a twisted American dream, isn't it? Success by any means necessary, even if it's morally wrong.
Right. So does that make him a revolutionary or just another hustler?
Oh.
It's hard to say. He blurs those lines constantly. He even criticizes other rappers for not living what they rap about. He says his music is real.
And that's what makes him so fascinating to analyze. He's authentic and artificial at the same time. You can't just dismiss him.
True. Okay, but what about the impact of his music? Do we know if anyone's actually been inspired to commit crimes because of his lyrics? I mean, he gives a lot of details.
It's hard to prove a direct link,
Yeah.
but the association is there. And his lyrics are so explicit. It's definitely a valid concern, especially when you think about younger listeners.
To some, he's like this folk hero, beating the system, getting rich, sticking it to the man.
And the media plays right into it. It all feeds his notoriety, gives him an even bigger platform. It's like we're all caught up in this web of intrigue and controversy.
Yeah, and it's hard to break free. We're drawn to his audacity, his artistic expression. It's a feedback loop of attention,
Yeah.
and it just keeps going.
I think that's what's so unsettling, honestly. He's a product of our times, a reflection of this fascination we have with the dark side of things, our appetite for scandal. Like, we can't resist the allure of the con.
He's also young, though, barely an adult. It makes you wonder what impact all of this fast fame, the controversy, is going to have on him long term.
Will he lean into this persona even more? Try to distance himself? Who knows? It's hard to predict.
And his music. Will he stick with this whole scam rap thing, or will he branch out, explore different themes? Can he even escape that label?
Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, the Teejayx6 saga is far from over.
You know, he actually wanted to be a rapper from a very young age, like freestyling in his room when he was 6. It's crazy how that early dream got tangled up with his criminal activity.
It's true. It reminds you that success, whatever that means, it's rarely a straight line. There are twists and turns, choices, circumstances. For him, music became this outlet to express his experiences with scamming.
He even shared some of his early raps on Facebook, though they've been taken down. I wonder how his style has evolved, from childhood freestyles to scam rap.
Well, according to a Complex interview, there was a shift in 2019. That's when he went from rapping about general hip-hop stuff to focusing on scams. He said that's what made him blow up.
He called his old music trash. Said he wasn't being true to himself. It's like becoming the scam rapper allowed him to find his voice, even if it's a controversial one.
And he links his success to being honest about his crimes. He claims people relate to his music because they believe it. Like, he's really living it.
That's a big statement, especially in hip-hop, where authenticity is so important. But it also brings up ethical questions, right? Is it okay to promote illegal stuff, even if you're framing it as your own story?
It's a slippery slope, art versus glorification. It's a debate that's been going on forever, and Teejayx6 just throws more fuel on the fire.
Let's talk about his rapping style for a minute. It's unique. He emphasizes the last words of his bars. It creates this offbeat flow, almost hypnotic.
Oh yeah, it's very distinctive. He says it's influenced by Blueface, and he's even admitted that he wasn't trying to sound offbeat at first, but it just became his thing.
And it's definitely caught people's attention. Some find it annoying, some find it catchy, like an earworm you can't get rid of.
Love it or hate it, it's memorable. He stands out, which is hard to do in the hip-hop world.
And he takes risks, pushes the boundaries of what's considered acceptable. Like, he'll be rapping about some crazy credit card scam, then drop in a line about his uncle scabbing his aunt or his dad's drug problems. It's jarring.
It feels intentional, right? Like, he's trying to shock you. It's not just about the scamming. He's painting this whole dark picture of his life, chaos, dysfunction.
It's like he's trying to make you numb to it all, make the criminal activity seem normal compared to everything else he's been through.
It's a psychological tactic. He shows his vulnerabilities, reveals the darkness beneath the surface, almost like he's daring you to judge him.
Yeah, like, you think scamming is bad, look what I've had to deal with.
He controls the narrative. He's not just a scammer, he's a survivor. And by sharing all this personal stuff, he makes himself harder to demonize.
You almost feel empathy for him, even if it's uncomfortable. You have to acknowledge the complexity of his story, the things that have made him who he is. He's holding up a mirror to society, showing us the dark side of the American dream, the desperation that drives people to extremes.
And people connect with that, especially if they come from similar backgrounds. There's this shared sense of like, the system is rigged.
He's even scammed celebrities, Black China, Dave East. It's like he's playing a game, seeing how far he can go, how much he can get away with.
And he's winning for
Okay.
now. But the stakes are getting higher. The more famous he gets, the bigger the potential fallout. He's on a tightrope, and eventually he's going to have to make a choice. Embrace the persona or face the music.
It all comes back to the question we started with. Visionary, con artist. Is he trying to change the world or just get rich?
It's impossible to say for sure. He's a mess of contradictions. Product of his environment, master manipulator, talented artist, dangerous criminal.
A reflection of our times, for sure. This blurring of good and bad. Truth and fiction. A cautionary tale.
And maybe, more than anything, he's a mirror reflecting our own fascination with the darkness, our obsession with the con.
It's funny, even with all the focus on crime and scamming, he's clearly got a good business mind. The way he built his brand, his strategic choices, his collaborations, he gets it.
Totally. Even in scam rap, there's hustle, there's strategy. You gotta adapt to survive.
He's even branching out beyond music now, selling merch on his website.
Smart move. Leveraging his notoriety, building a multifaceted brand, playing the long game.
But he's not abandoning his roots either. He still raps about scamming, flaunts the money. It's like he's trying to balance it all, street cred and new opportunities.
How long can he keep it up, though? Those legal risks aren't going away. One wrong move, it could all come crashing down.
He's talked about struggling with the pressure of fame, too. The scrutiny, the fear of being recognized, the expectations.
It's understandable, you know? He went from obscurity to having his life picked apart by millions of people.
He's even said he feels isolated, like he can't trust anyone, not even his family. It's a big contrast to how he comes across in his music.
Right. There's always more to the story. Behind the persona, behind the bravado, he's a real person dealing with real consequences.
And he's a father now, too. That adds another layer of complexity. How will that change things for him? His choices, his priorities, his music.
Will he try to be a good role model? Or keep chasing the fame and fortune no matter the risk? It's a turning point in his story.
He's said he wants to quit scamming, focus on music. But he's also said the allure of easy money is hard to resist.
A lot of people struggle with that, right? The quick and easy path versus the long, hard one.
And it's even harder when you've seen the rewards of breaking the rules.
It just shows you, even someone like Teejayx6, who seems to have it all figured out, they still have internal conflicts, uncertainty.
There's a part where he talks about feeling remorse, especially about scamming people around Christmas. It's like a glimpse of something else. Maybe he's capable of change.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even people who do bad things can feel empathy, regret.
But will it be enough to actually change his path? That's the question.
Only time will tell. But his story is a powerful reminder, you know, about how complex people are, how contradictory. It makes you think about right and wrong, success and failure, truth and lies.
And it's not over yet.
It's like Teejayx6's story. It kind of makes you think about this bigger trend, you know, this whole fascination we have with scamming and fraud. It's everywhere. Like, it's not just him.
Oh, yeah. Movies, TV, music, documentaries. We're obsessed with con artists, grifters.
And it's not new either. I mean, think about it. Catch Me If You Can, The Sting. We've always loved these stories of people outsmarting the system, even if they're breaking the law.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it does feel different now. Like, in some ways, scamming has become, like, aspirational, especially online. And Teejayx6, his music definitely taps into that.
Yeah. I think it has something to do with how crime itself has changed. The internet, technology. Financial fraud is so much easier now, more anonymous. You don't have to rob a bank. You just find a weakness in the system.
And to do that, you need a certain level of, like, tech skill, ingenuity. And some people see that, and it's weird. They admire it.
I know, right? It's like this dark side of the whole Silicon Valley thing. Disrupt, Get rich quick, doesn't matter who gets hurt.
And that message, it's dangerous, especially for younger people. They're already disillusioned. Teejayx6 might make it sound like a different kind of hustle, but it's all built on lies and taking advantage of people.
Exactly. And that's what people forget when they romanticize scamming. These crimes, they have real victims. It's not just some faceless corporation. It could be anyone. Your friends, family, neighbors.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's worth asking, what does this whole thing say about us? About where we are as a society?
It makes you think, right? I think it shows this growing feeling of disillusionment. Like the system is rigged, the average person can't get ahead. And when you see all this economic inequality, when the traditional ways of achieving success don't work, people start looking for other options, even if those options are illegal.
But it's risky, and the consequences are real. Teejayx6's music might be catchy, but the reality behind it is not pretty.
No, it's not. So next time you hear a song about scamming or see a news story about some crazy fraud scheme, remember, there's always more to it. Victims, repercussions. We have to think about that.
I think in this world where right and wrong are getting harder to tell apart, we have to be more careful, more critical, question everything, make conscious choices about what we value.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, success isn't about money. It's about what you leave behind, the impact you make.
And that's a good message to remember, no matter who you are, what you do. So keep thinking about it. And until next time, keep diving deep.